Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapurna Dham ki jai. Gangamai Jamunamai ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shrimati Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today is the appearance day of Lord Balaram. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gadim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So Balaram is known as the immediate expansion of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the Swayam Rupa. Swayam Rupa means the original form, the form from which all other forms emanate. But that first form, that first incarnation, first expansion, comes from Krishna as Lord Balaram. So basically, Lord Balaram is the same as Krishna in all respects. Srila Prabhupada said the only difference is the color. Balaram is white in color, very fair complexion. And Krishna's complexion is sham, darkish, like the full monsoon cloud at the beginning of the rainy season, Prabhupada says. Shastra states. So, Lord Balaram, he's always in the mood of service to Krishna. And coming from Lord Balaram, there's other expansions, like Sankarshan, also known as Mahasankarshan, expands from Balaram. And from this expansion of Balaram comes Vasudeva, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. It's known as the quadruple expansion, the Chaturvyuha. So it's described in Shastra that another Chaturvyuha expands from that Chaturvyuha. And once on a morning walk, one devotee was asking Srila Prabhupada about the second Chaturvyuha. And Srila Prabhupada explains, what to speak of second, there are many thousands of Chaturvyuhas. Right? So Vasudeva, Mahasankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, they all have corresponding roles that they play in terms of the material elements, etc. Keeping in mind that everything is coming from Balaram, and all these expansions are his plenary expansions. Coming from Mahasankarshan of the Chaturvyuha, this expands Karnadakashai Vishnu. And this Vishnu expansion, he he looks over the material nature, and when he looks over the material nature, he impregnates the material nature with his glance and the living entities. So, and it's ascribed that the universes come out from the pores of Karnadakashai Vishnu or Mahavishnu, and they're floating on the causal ocean. And they're described as Jagananda, Anda. Universes are in the shape of like an egg, right? Hollow on the inside, floating on the causal ocean. So then again, Mahavishnu expands himself as Garbhodakashai Vishnu and enters into each and every universe. And there the universe is hollow. So from the pores of his body comes so much water, and it fills up the universe halfway. And then he lies down on a bed of Anantasesh. Just like some water, when it's very hot, now it's humid, so some water comes from our body, right? So if that's true for an ordinary person, why not for the Supreme Lord? Right? You have a little bit that can come out, and he has enough to fill up half the universe, right? And people, they have this tendency, they like to swim in the water. They get an air-filled raft and they lay on that air-filled raft and float on the water, right? Some people who know how to swim, they can also float on their back, right? Who knows swimming here? Raise your hand. Who knows how to swim? Yeah? Not so many. You'll be in trouble if the boat sinks. Yeah, Devaki Nandan Prabhu is inviting everyone to come to Lasari, and he'll personally teach you how to swim. So one thing, if you're swimming, and you're trying to cross the Ganga swimming, right? You might get tired halfway, right? So there's one, you can lay on your back and just kind of tread water and be relaxed, right? Isn't it? And then when you get your strength back, again, you can swim across. So where do all these tendencies come from? To be in the water, right? To lie on the water. It's coming from the Supreme Lord. He's there as Garbhodakashai Vishnu, lying down on the water, on the bed of Anantasesh, relaxing, right? So these are all expansions coming from Balaram. Right? Balaram is such a important personality for all of us. He makes arrangements through his expansions for this creation of this material world. And as Garbhodakashai Vishnu is lying down on the bed of Anantasesh, due to the living entities, material desires, a lotus protrudes from his navel. And on the top of that lotus, Lord Brahma is born. And then Brahma goes on to create the different planetary systems, right? And then again, from Garbhodakashai Vishnu expands Kshirodakashai Vishnu. And he enters into all the different atoms, right? And into the heart of every living entity as the Paramatma, Supersoul. So all of this wonderful display, and then the material creation. due to the presence of the living entities, it takes its shape, right? It's the Lord's energy, known as Maya. Right? And this Maya covers the living entity in various ways. Maya causes the material world, and she has two aspects it's described. One is called Maya, and the other is called Pradhan. So the Pradhan aspect of Maya gives the ingredients, right? The Pradhan, before the living entities enter, it's like an amalgamation of all the different 24 elements. And then when the living entities enter into it, due to the interaction of false ego and the desire of the living entities, things start to take their shape. The senses, the sense objects, mind, intelligence, all due to this interaction of false ego of the living entity. So this whole wonderful creation is all taking place through the different expansions, plenary expansions of Lord Baladev. Now, one of the different Leela avatars that is so famous is Lord Ramchandra. And just as there's Krishna and Balaram, there's Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman. Right? So Lakshman is the expansion of the Supreme Lord, and he's always considering himself the servant of Lord Ram. He's a servant of Lord Ramchandra. Ramchandra was banished due to the intrigue in the palace to the forest for 12 years. And he happily accepted that because it was his father's order. But Lakshman didn't like it. Right? When he heard that Dasarath had banned Lord Ram to the forest, he was so upset. He went to Lord Ramchandra and he said, "Just give me the order and I'll bring an army and we'll knock off this old man, Dasarath." Ram said, "No, he's our father, and the order of the father must be followed, not begrudgingly, but happily." So seeing the determination of Lord Ramchandra, Lakshman, he told Ram that I'll go with you. And he said, "No, you stay back," but he wouldn't hear it. Lakshman insisted that he must go. Right? But while they were traveling in the forest, it brought great pain to Lakshman to see the austerities that Lord Ramchandra was performing. Right? Sleeping in the ground, eating just roots and fruits that they found in the forest here and there. It's great. He didn't like it. But because it was the order of his older brother, therefore he had to follow. And Lakshman performed great austerities. At night, when Lord Ramchandra took rest and Sita took rest, Lakshman would stay up all night and doing guard duty. Right? And in the morning, again, they would travel, so he had no chance to rest. So during the whole exile, Lakshman didn't get any rest. Right? Nor did he really eat. He didn't have time. He was busy looking after the needs of Lord Ram and Sita. But on his own behalf, he was all right. He didn't mind. But he didn't like to see Lord Ram performing these kinds of austerities. So he thought, and the next time we appear together, I'll be the older brother. So when they appeared as Krishna and Balaram, Balaram appeared first as Barabai, Dauji, right, of Krishna. So in Vrindavan, they were enjoying in their role as cowherd boys, as young babies. They would play together. They would throw blankets over themselves and act like bulls, doing fighting. Right? Krishna and Balaram, as young babies. Right? When they got a little older, they were given the responsibility of taking care of the calves. So they would take the calves into the forest and let the calves eat the nice grasses that are there in the Vrindavan forest. And in this way, they were enjoying with their friends, the cowherd boys in Vrindavan. So there are many pastimes of how Krishna was killing demons and Balaram was killing demons. It was almost like a daily affair. Some demon would come and Krishna would kill the demon. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that these demons, they represent various anarthas that are within the heart. Right? And he also mentions that especially the demons, that were killed by Balaram represent very powerful anarthas. Right? Very powerful anarthas. That these anarthas are such that only by the mercy of Balaram and the representative of Balaram, the spiritual master, can one become free from these anarthas. Anyway, one such demon, his name was Pralambasur, and he wanted to kill Krishna. So what he did was he disguised himself as a cowherd boy and came amongst the cowherd boys. He picked the form of one particular cowherd boy who didn't come out to tend the cows that day because he had some duties at home. So he disguised himself like that cowherd boy. But because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could understand this is a demon and he's come to create some mischief. Right? But anyway, Krishna accepted him, and they divided up the cowherd boys into two teams, right? And they were playing various hide and seek games. And the winner, the loser of the game, had to carry the other team on their backs. So Pralambasura, disguising himself as a cowherd boy, he was on Krishna's team, but Krishna's team lost. So he had to carry, Pralambasura had to carry, Krishna had to carry. Krishna carried a Sridham on his back. And Pralambasura, he thought, okay, let me take this Balaram, because of the two, Krishna and Balaram, he thought Balaram would be easier to kill. Right? So Balaram got on his back. And then immediately Pralambasura was running to a far-off distance place, away from the others. He was taking Balaram away from the others. And then Balaram, he could understand, right, that this was a big demon, so he started to make himself heavy, really heavy. And due to the weight of Balaram, Pralambasura assumed his original form as a demon. Right? And for a second, Balaram thought, Hara, what is this? This is not a cowherd boy. Right? Sometimes the Supreme Lord even likes to get a little shock. He likes to get a little, you know. What is there for Balaram to be afraid of? There's nothing, right? Even it's described in Bhagavatam that death personified is afraid of the Supreme Lord, right? But just for the rasa, just for the mellow. But anyway, Krishna he said, hey, stop acting like an ordinary person and, you know, kill that guy. So Balaram took his fist and hit Pralambasura right in the head and cracked his head. And blood began to flow from his mouth and he fell down dead. And all the cowherd boys said, well done, well done. Now it's important to note which anartha this demon represents, Pralambasura demon. And in particular, this demon represents lusty inclinations, right? Attraction for the opposite sex, right? And along with that, also the desire for profit, distinction, and adoration. So this is the subtle side of gross sex life, the attraction between opposite sex, the gross sex life. And the subtle side of that is the desire for labh, puja, pratishta, some material profit, some distinction, some honor. These are like demons that reside within everyone's heart. The karmis, they're working night and day, described in Bhagavatam for these things. They take the train and then the bus and go to the office and work very hard, and then they come back again by the bus and then catch the train in the pouring rain. Why? Just so at night they can get a few moments of sex pleasure. This is their happiness. But the devotees of the Lord, they are serving Krishna. And therefore this attraction for the opposite sex is actually an impediment in devotional service. That attraction for the opposite sex is actually love for Krishna, but it's gone sour due to the contact of the material world. But it's such a powerful knot that's in the heart. Very difficult to untie. In fact, on our own effort, it's impossible. It's not possible at all. But it becomes possible by the mercy of Balaram, the mercy of Balaram's expansion in the form of the spiritual master. Then it becomes possible. And even more difficult, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, right? I don't want any beautiful women, I don't want wealth, right? But he's also saying, janam, I don't want followers, right? So you may be able to avoid the attraction of beautiful women, And you may be able to renounce chasing after wealth, right? But it's very difficult to give up this desire for having followers. Not easy. Only by the mercy of Balaram, by the mercy of Balaram's representative, the spiritual master, can we actually become free from this anartha. This is the main stumbling block. And from this anartha comes other anarthas, right? And one of those anarthas is pride. And there's another pastime of Lord Balaram where he shows the end result of pride. And that is, see, Lord Balaram, he didn't want the Kurus and the Pandus to fight, because he was very friendly with Duryodhana, and on the other side Bhima, friends with both. So he didn't want them to fight, actually. In fact, he tried to mediate. He tried to preach to them, not to fight. Right? Just like sometimes two devotees are fighting, and the temple president said, "Hey, why you're fighting?" Right? Sometimes they give up the fighting mood, but sometimes they don't. Right? In the same way, Bhima and Duryodhana were sworn enemies. Bhima has taken a vow to finish off all the sons of Gandhari. And even in the battle of Kurukshetra, the other Pandavas were very careful not to kill any of the sons of Gandhari, because they were all for Bhima. He would kill them. And he killed all 100 sons. Right? So after the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra was actually very upset, but he was showing that he was very cool. And he said, "Oh, my nephews, let me embrace my nephew Bhima." Actually, Dhritarashtra, although he was blind, he was very strong, very strong. And because he was blind and they knew his strength, they led him to the pillar of a palace. And they said, "This is Bhima, go ahead, you can embrace him." And thinking that the pillar was Bhima, he embraced the pillar and he crushed it. He crushed the pillar, just a stone powder, thinking that it was Bhima, because he was so upset that Bhima had killed his 100 sons. But anyway, before that happened, Lord Balaram was speaking to them. He said, "Listen, on one side, Bhima, he has more strength than you," he's telling Duryodhana. And he's telling Bhima that Duryodhana is more expert at the club than you. So there'll be no result from this fight. Don't fight. And both of them just looked down at the ground. They didn't say anything. So when you're trying to get somebody to agree to something and they're not saying anything, they're just looking at the ground, that means they don't agree. So Balaram got the message and he went on pilgrimage. Right? He went to Prabhashetra. He went to the beginning of the Saraswati River where it goes into the ocean, and he visited so many places, and finally he came to Naimisha forest, Naimisharanya. And there was a group of sages headed by Romaharsan Sutta, and they were performing a sacrifice and hearing and chanting from the Puranas. And they had given an elevated seat for Romaharsan Sutta, who was supposed to be speaking the Puranas. And when Balaram entered into the assembly, all the sages and saintly persons, they stood up, and many of them offered dandavats to Lord Balaram because they knew who Balaram was. So in this way they were greeting him very nicely with proper etiquette, and they offered him a proper sitting, an elevated sitting place, right? But Balaram noticed that Romahar San didn't stand up. And he began to think about the background of Romahar San. Romahar San was from there's different kind of marriages, intercaste marriages. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras. Usually they marry in their own caste. A Brahmin lady will marry a Brahmin man. But sometimes it so happened that they would mix, the marriages would mix. So there were two types of mixes, Aniloma and Pratiloma. If a man from the Brahmin caste married a lady from the Kshatriya caste, that was known as Aniloma. But if a lady from the Brahmin caste married a person from the Kshatriya caste, that was known as Pratiloma. And that wasn't considered appropriate, Pratiloma marriages. So he was born from such a Pratiloma marriage. But because of his knowing Shastra, he knew thousands and thousands of shlokas. And he knew the Shastras very, very well. And he was the disciple of Srila Vyasadeva himself. He was Vyasadev's initiated disciple. So due to his spiritual knowledge, he was given this elevated position by all the sages and given great benedictions that he would live a long life, free from many diseases, because they wanted him to go on and speak from the Puranas. But Balaram remembered what kind of marriage he came from, this Pratiloma marriage. And he realized that he had been afflicted with pride due to his scholarship and due to being initiated by Vyasadeva. He had become proud. And therefore, he didn't stand up to greet Lord Balaram. And because of his pride, Lord Balaram said, "You're not fit to be in this position." And he took simply a straw, and he touched him with the straw, and Romahar San Sutta died on the spot. And the sages said, "Alas, alas, whoa, what happened here?" They were surprised. And at the same time, they realized that Balaram's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they explained, we had given him benedictions for a long life so that he would, participate in our efforts to stave back the Kali Yuga. So they felt that this was a mistake. Right? But at the same time, they knew that Balaram was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so there couldn't be any mistake. Right? But they were expressing themselves. And Balaram said, "So what do you want me to do? Bring him back to life? I can do that. No problem. I'll keep all the benedictions that you wanted. Not an issue. No problem, no difficulty." They said, no. What you have done should remain. What we have done should also remain. So Balaram gave suggestion. All right then. The son is the representative of the father. You bring the son of Romahar San, and we'll see that he has all the benedictions that you offered Romahar San, of long life and ability to speak the Puranas. So then the Brahmins were satisfied. The sages were satisfied. Yes, yes. He said, but if you think I've done something inappropriate, give some way of atonement. And they explained that there was a demon, Bilvala, who was creating a great havoc. He was, when the sacrificial fire was happening, he would come and create problems and make the place dirty. So if you can take care of this demon for us, it would be very good. So Balaram said, all right. And he killed the Bilvala demon. And following the instructions of the sages, Balaram toured the holy places for 12 months as an atonement. But the lesson that we learn is that pride is a very detrimental anartha to our devotional service. Krishna doesn't like his devotees to be very proud. If we are thinking that I'm giving class and so many people are appreciating, right, my class, and we become proud, then we're losing the benefit of performing devotional service. Right? That anartha leads to other anarthas. And even though we're trying to render service to the Supreme Lord, it becomes a disservice. Right? So getting rid of this pride, Krishna has his ways and means to diminish our pride. And for everyone it's different. He took care of the pride of Lord Indra. Right? Said, oh, this Indra is too proud. And Indra had become so bewildered by his pride, he couldn't even recognize Krishna. He was saying, who is this talkative boy Krishna? Right? But becoming free from pride is not an easy thing. Right? And it requires strong, Balaram. Bala means strength, not material strength. You can't go to the gym and lift weights and expect to get rid of your pride. Okay? It needs Balaram, it needs the mercy. When Srila Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram in the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, the next day he was on the morning walk. And he said to the devotees, he said, now you have Balaram. Always pray to Balaram, because he will free you from your material desires. He's very merciful. Balaram's very merciful. He can free you from his material desires. We can see when Balaram came with Lord Chaitanya as Lord Nityananda, he was extremely merciful. Right? Lord Chaitanya delivered elevated persons like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy. Right? But who did Lord Nityananda deliver? The most fallen, wretched persons, Jaghai and Madai. They're extremely merciful, Balaram. So Srila Prabhupada advises that we should always pray to Balaram because he, and only he, through him and his representatives and his devotees, can we become free from these anarthas, which are holding us back from obtaining the highest goal, which is love for Krishna, which is taste for the holy name. Rupa Goswami, when he's chanting the holy names, he's praying, I wish I had thousands of tongues and thousands of ears so I can drink this nectar. And when we chant the holy name, because we're not getting that taste. Why we're not getting that taste? Anarthas. This is the problem. So we need Balaram's mercy, and today is a special day when the mercy is open. You know, like in the Kumbh Mela, the astrological stars are right that you can get the benefit of the, right? So today is the day where everything is situated where you can get the mercy of Lord Balaram. Pray fervently to Lord Balaram for his mercy so that we can serve the spiritual master without any consideration for our own, like Lakshman served Lord Ramchandra, right? And in that way attract the mercy of Lord Balaram so that we can develop our love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Anything else? Okay, great. Okay, Hanuman.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I have one comment and one question also. The comment is, when the Dhritarashtra embraced a pillar and then it was crashed, later when Dhritarashtra started crying, he was very sorry that Bhima was killed. But then later on, Krishna explained that Bhima is actually not killed, he is not died. It is the pillar only crashed. So then after he wanted to embrace Bhima, but Krishna by saying like this, from distance offer obeisance, don't come near to him. That is about Dhritarashtra. And please explain that when the Samba was arrested by Duryodhana, so he explained about last year, was explained about that incident. So now
last year I did.
Well,
it's a nice pastime. But if you don't mind, there's one point that I didn't mention in this Anartha represented by Pralambasura. See, he disguised himself as a cowherd boy, Pralambasura. So he acted like he was a friend. He was a friend of the cowherd boys, right? But actually he was an enemy. So this desire for sex life and la puja pratishta, it disguises itself, right? It becomes disguise. We actually think that these desires are our friends, right? And it's a very subtle thing. Of course, we can kind of understand gross sex life, but the subtle things that come along with that gross sex life, it's not so easy to understand. You know, I'm going to preach and make a lot of boys, and they're going to do what I say, and they're going to get a job in America and send me money. It's very subtle, right? And it looks like devotional service. It looks like we're doing something positive, but it turns out to be very detrimental. We have to be very careful, very, very careful. Just like Pralambasura, he dressed himself, he disguised himself. So these desires, they disguise themselves as something positive when actually these desires are our enemy. They keep us away from Krishna. Just like Pralambasura, he was taking Balaram away from the cowherd boyfriends, off into the lonely place, right? One time, Srila Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and sometimes he wouldn't talk. He would just chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So they're walking on the path, and one devotee walked away from the group and was walking the other direction, chanting. So Prabhupada pointed it out to the other devotees. You see, Maya is calling him. Right? When you go away from the devotees, it's Maya call. If you have issues with the devotees, right? It's Maya calling. Are he's like this and he's like that. Mere saath aiye. Come, we'll do big things together. I'll, disguise as our friend when actually they're our enemy. They take us away from the devotees, take us away from Krishna Balaram, take us away from devotional service. We have to be very careful and not fall in the trap, right? See things for what they are. And that's only if you do intensive devotional service. And the best way to do intensive devotional service is to try to spread this movement by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. If we stay fixed up under the shelter, because that was Lord Chaitanya's mood, that was Lord Nityananda's mood, to deliver the fallen souls. So if we try to do that, right, even though these anarthas won't be able to overcome our hearts, we won't be fooled. We'll have association of the devotees, and it's the wonderful thing about the association of devotees is the devotees are right there to tell you, hey Prabhu, you're in Maya. You are nonsense, right? And then if we have this mercy of Balaram and Krishna, we'll be able to say, yes, you're right. If we don't have the mercy, we'll say, kya baat karte ho? Tum kaun hai? We'll think in a different way. So we need that mercy. We need that Shakti from Balaram, so that when the test comes, we can pass the test. And be humble, be submissive. That's the best policy, humble and submissive. But it's not easy. On our own we can't do it. Only if we have that mercy, then we can do it. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Balaram ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Comment क्या है क्वेश्चन का प्रोजेक्ट